I'm using all of the DLC for this guide. To explain economy in Stellaris, I have created some flowcharts, which show the path of the basic resources, both how you acquire them and how you use them. I'm not going to necessarily be able to cover every single application and every single source of a material. If there is something missing, understand that this is more for a simplistic intro than it is a comprehensive list. I'm going to start with food because that's the simplest flowchart that I have. First, you construct your agriculture district, and if you have the right technology, also hydroponics plants, and those produce farmer jobs on your planets. And you have to have a pop working the farmer job, and they will output food. Before I continue, let me explain what a pop is. It would be impossible to simulate every single individual within the galaxy. Instead, people are grouped by their occupation, their species, and their ethics. Each pop can only have one ethic of the ones that you choose when you're creating your empire. Pops are essential to every economy because buildings and jobs are meaningless without the actual pops to work those jobs. You can also sell food on the market for energy, or you can buy food on the market with energy. Food is primarily used to feed your organic pops. Lithoids and robots do not count. With both alloys, consumer goods, and food combined, you can build colony ships. Colony ships are very important because that allows you to settle new planets and thus expand your economy and get more resources. For machine empires, you don't need consumer goods or food. You can also, on your star bases, you can build hydroponics plants, which produces a little bit of food. If you have excess buildings, you could produce food in space in order to have less farmers and thus more pops working towards more important things like producing alloys. If you have an enslaved population that is organic and you set their slave type to livestock, that also produces food. Moving on from that one, another way of using food is through cloning vats or the hive mind equivalent spawning pools. And this allows you to produce new pops. And this works a little different than pops growth speed. It takes up that robot building slot on your planets, so you can actually build organics while simultaneously having them reproduce the natural way. And then another use for food is bioreactors. This is only for machine intelligences, I believe. And bioreactors turn food into energy. It's maybe slightly more efficient than selling it on the market, but I don't know if it's really worth the building slot. I never really do it. There are some exceptions. For example, you can produce alloys with food if you have the right civics. Overall, food is mostly just used for upkeep. So generally, I don't worry about having a surplus of food as long as I'm not running a deficit. Next up, we have minerals. So you start out with your mining district on your planet. That leads to miner jobs, which then leads to minerals. Using construction chips, you can build mining posts for a cost of minerals over planets in order to produce more minerals. If you have a starbase in a nebula, you can use one of your building slots to build a nebula refinery, which gives you a little bit of minerals. You can also get exotic gases from this. You can sell your minerals on the market for energy credits, or you can purchase minerals on the market with energy credits. So what are the main uses of minerals? Well, the first big one is buildings on your planets. They cost minerals to build. And also districts on your planets, which cost minerals to build. So what is the difference between districts and buildings? Districts generally produce your basic resources, such as minerals, energy, food, and they also generate housing for your planet. Pops need housing, or otherwise your planet will lose stability from overcrowding. Districts are limited by both planet size, so smaller planets can have fewer districts, and also planetary features. As long as you have the planet size to support them, you can have as many city districts or industrial districts as you want. However, mining districts, agriculture districts, and generator districts require the right planetary features. A city's arbitrary and can kind of be anywhere as long as you have the place for it, but you can only mine minerals if there are minerals there to mine. Buildings are more unique than districts. They provide strategic resources like rare crystals. Buildings are also tend to be things that are planet-wide modifiers, such as generator grids, which improve your technicians across the planet as a whole, which means specializing your planet can be very powerful. Building slots are unlocked both by upgrading your capital building. Every planet has a capital building, as well as every city district you build gives you a building slot. There are certain technologies and traditions that unlock additional building slots. Industrial districts create both metallurgist jobs and artisan jobs. that consume minerals in order to produce alloys and consumer goods, respectively. As mentioned before, if you combine these two resources with food, you can construct colony ships. What the alloys do? They are primarily used in the construction of new spaceships. Spaceships generate power projection, which, if high relative to your empire size, generates influence up to a point. Ships also give you diplomatic weight, which is important because you can use your diplomatic weight in the galactic community to pass resolutions. Alloys, in conjunction with influence, allow you to construct outposts, which allow you to claim stars. The idea being that you kind of plant your flag and claim it as your own. There is no split ownership of a system. You either own the star and its surrounding bodies, or you don't. You cannot colonize a planet until you have built an outpost over its star. Also, you can upgrade your outposts into star bases, which allows you to build buildings on them for a variety of uses, such as shipyards. The difference between outposts and star bases is outposts do not have any building slots. Additionally, alloys are used in robotics plants by your machinists to produce robots. For very extreme cost in alloys, you can build mega structures once you have the right technology. These are very expensive things like a ring world around the sun or a sensory array that can detect everything in the galaxy. And generally, I recommend once you have all of your basic resources in check, alloys are one of the most important things to prioritize the production of. Consumer goods is used in the upkeep of your non-hive mind organic pops. Also, consumer goods are used in your research labs by your researchers to produce physics, engineering, and society research points so that you can research new technologies. Research is incredibly useful in every aspect of the game, much like alloys are. Bureaucratic offices and temples make bureaucrats and priests, which use consumer goods to produce unity. Unity is very important because it's used to unlock traditions, which are very powerful bonuses to your empire, extremely important. Also, unity is used in the upkeep of edicts, which have a wide variety of uses. Minerals are also used in the production of armies. Armies are used to both defend and capture planets, whereas your ships can only orbitally bombard planets. Also, minerals are used in the upkeep of lithoid pops. They eat rocks instead of food. Minerals are used in the production of volatile motes, which is a strategic resource that you can use to improve your armor on your ships, your weapons on your ships, as well as in the upkeep of a couple edicts that are very powerful, and also used to upgrade your buildings to advanced versions that are more efficient than their normal counterparts. Minerals are also used in the production of exotic gases, which allow you to upgrade your energy shields for your ships, your plasma weapons for your ships, as well as edicts and buildings again. And finally, minerals are also used in the manufacturing of rare crystals, which are used for upgrading your ship's hull, as well as your laser weapons, and also for edicts and buildings as well. You always want a decent surplus of minerals, I find. They're used for a whole lot of things. So finally, I shall talk about energy credits. Using your generator districts, you can produce technicians, which produce energy credits. Energy credits are basically the galactic currency, a currency backed by electricity. Another way of getting energy credits is using your construction ships to build mining stations for a cost of minerals over usually stars. That gives you a small amount of energy, usually just enough to cover the upkeep of other mining stations and any star bases you have, if even that. Another way of getting energy is with your star bases, you can build solar panels. It seems a little strange that only machine intelligences and hive minds would be able to construct solar panels. The commercial hub building produces clerks, as well as your city districts. Clerks produce trade value. Unlike other resources that just magically appear in your stockpile, trade value actually has to travel across space to your capital for it to be converted into useful resource. And trade value can be intercepted by pirates. On your star bases, you can build off-world trading hubs, which allow you to actually collect the trade value and then convert it into energy. You can reduce piracy via ships on patrol, or on your star bases, you can build weapon modules, which will give you trade production as well, reducing the effects of piracy. However, Gestalt consciousnesses do not have access to the whole trade value system, and that is why they have the solar panels. However, trade value is not exclusively used to produce energy credits. If you have the tradition, adaptive economic policies, you can produce either consumer goods or Unity. And if you have the right Federation perk, you can also produce both. You always produce a bit of energy through trade value. This is a pretty decent option of getting a bunch of consumer goods, which allows you to better prioritize your industrial districts towards alloys. Another way of producing energy is if on your planets you have the Betharian Crystal planetary feature and you have the Betharian Crystal research. You can create Betharian Crystal power plants, which are used to produce technicians and energy credits as well. This is like extremely rare and niche. You can use energy credits in the market to purchase pretty much every other resource in the game. So minerals, food, consumer goods, alloys, volatile motes, exotic gases, rare crystals, dark matter, Zro, living metal, and nanites. You cannot purchase influence, unity, or research. You have to have actually produced one of the resources to start buying it. Additionally, on the market, if you switch over to the other tab, you can purchase slaves or sell them on the market, unless you have banned it in the galactic community, which you absolutely should do. The market is an abstraction of purchasing things. The resources do not actually exist within the world on the market. If you sell resources, you are just magically getting energy from the void. No one had to actually produce those resources, which means that as long as you're making a surplus in some resource, you can get every resource. There is kind of a fake gamey supply and demand system that the more you purchase, the more expensive the resource gets. One other thing to note about the market, there is a 30% fee on every purchase. It is more efficient to produce it yourself than it is to buy it on the market. That fee can be reduced via a couple of different means, and it cannot be any less than 5%. Apart from the market, energy is used in the upkeep of basically everything in the game, including star bases, ships, armies, districts, buildings. They're also used to clear tile blockers on your planet, which allow you to get more slots for more districts. Usually you need technology to clear these blockers. Energy is also used in the upkeep of robots and also megastructures. It's very important to have a decent surplus of energy credits because you're using it for a whole lot. Upkeeps of these things can change radically very quickly, particularly your spaceships. If you have a dock, which is very useful in reducing the upkeep. However, if you move your ships off of that starbase, they're going to start having a massive energy upkeep spike, which might lead to your economic collapse if you weren't producing enough of a surplus to handle that. You want to be producing lots of minerals, lots of energy, and then when you have good surpluses of those, start expanding your consumer goods and alloy production. And then once you have a good surplus of alloys, you want to start building up your ships. And when you have a good surplus of consumer goods, you want to start building researching labs and your various Unity producing buildings. Hopefully this visualization of economy in the game helps you. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.